The first treadmill after the weekend is always most difficult.
Hello, everybody.
I'm working on a chart for which team has been screwed over by my channel's existence. So which teams have performed the best or the worst since I created the channel.
There you go.
To figure out who I'm truly jinxing, it's got to be my fault.
Hello.
I can tell too. Vancouver's right near the bottom, which will surprise everybody. Here you go, kitty. That's dating back to 2015, 2016. So.
Hello, everybody.
Howdy, everybody.
Happy New Year.
Happiest of New Years to you and yours. Hopefully 2023 is a nice, quick year.
Must be thrilled with this year's Winter Classic. So ugly. Two teams. Oh, where'd it go? Where's the mouse? There it is. Probably commenting on how incredibly hideous the game is. Two teams wearing marigold and a sea of marigold in Fenway Park. Not only are they marigold jerseys, they're really, really ugly ones.
See, I like the Pittsburgh ones.
No, the Pittsburgh one is hideous.
No, I like them.
So
the Boston
ugly.
one I'm not a fan of, but
it's ugly too. But that Pittsburgh one is spectacularly ugly.
The gear the Bruins are wearing is okay. Like the rest of it outside of the jersey, I actually think is kind of fun, but especially with the bear on the old fashioned bee on the leg. But yeah. I'm kind of surprised by the yellow numbers on the back of the cream jersey too. That had to be fun
to make it really not visible. Yeah, a lot of ugly.
The game itself was kind of ugly the first two periods too. I really didn't know
if I was going to have
very
many Kraken dressed in 70s Mariners uniforms.
I think the Kraken will do a throwback to the old barber pole that I have, the old Metro.
Shannon got me this for Christmas.
I did.
It's a Fanatic. You can't see it because it's so gosh darn long. It's a Fanatics because it's a women. But so it's my first Fanatics jersey. But it's still kind of fun. It has the fun shoulder patches. But it is a Kraken. It is a Fanatic. So there's that. But it works. Still really, really long. Hello, Shane. You know better.
I get that every now and then.
He knows what your name is. Why is the stream so blurry? I'm guessing it has to do with your internet.
Did you clean off your monitor? My guess is that if the stream is blurry, you've probably got some mayonnaise on the monitor. You might have been trying to clean up the monitor and you probably put the cleaner on your sandwich. Double check your sandwich before you take a bite. It's easy to do. You can mix up cleaner and mayonnaise. I do it all the time.
You're using cleaner? When was this?
You're lucky you're married to me.
I know.
I think it's great, though, that Sportsnet's re-showing the game because, I mean, there would be a lot of people that worked and might not have seen it. So, yeah, spoiler alert and all that.
Was the Islanders at Barclays the worst arena debacle in recent memory? I can't remember another time when a team got kicked out mid-year.
Arizona almost got kicked out of theirs last season. But yeah, it is the biggest debacle. I mean, we've seen teams arrive in a city before their arena's finished. Calgary was one. Then San Jose was another. But yeah, the Barclays move just didn't make any sense at the time, and it's still absolutely bewildering.
Have you guys ever been to San Jose?
No.
We haven't been very many places in the States.
But I've got the jerseys for her now that I think you're covered for almost every team. I think no matter where we go, I think you're covered. You're close. Just the ugly ones you don't want.
Yeah, there might be a few teams that just have hideous jerseys that I don't have. I need to go through my jerseys, though. I do. I have a rack that has my jerseys. It's like this rack behind us. I have one of these with my jerseys and my jersey sweatshirts, but it also has some of Shannon's on it. So it's hard for me to tell which ones are mine.
If they're in there, they're ones that I gave you, in all likelihood.
But some of them are huge. They can't be mine.
Well, there might be some in there that don't fit either of us.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't putting those on the set.
Some of them aren't.
If it's behind me, then it fits me. Because there's no point in me having one behind me that does not fit. That wouldn't make any sense.
Thoughts on Vegas and Seattle Winter Classic next year?
Could be fun. I do wonder what Vegas will come up with for a Winter Classic jersey. There's so
They could
many
have a
things
fun
Vegas
jersey.
could do. They could.
Yeah.
They could.
And the Seattle jersey
Is going to be
Yes.
Metropolitans.
Hopefully it's not hideous.
It's
If they
gonna be
could
a
use the
barber pole.
Seattle, but if they use the Seattle colors
Or, I mean, they could do like a Seattle Mariners tie-in.
or not.
They could do Mariners colors.
I vote not. Though
They
the
could
Mariners
They
don't.
could do
Their
a
colors aren't
Seahawks
too bad.
color rush.
I'd rather they
They
didn't.
could do like a really bright green.
That would be hideous.
And then Vegas
Gosh, you
could do
would
another
never
gold
see
jersey.
them on ice outside. You would not. You'd be blinded.
Bright green against gold.
But that would be assuming it's sunny, which it won't be.
No, it's going to be rainy.
Right.
But apparently, they're going to be a T-Mobile Arena, which is weird because today's game, Fenway is owned by the same owners as
They'll
the
do a
Penguins,
Raiders jersey and you'll like it.
and the T-Mobile
sad.
Arena is the name of the arena in Vegas, but it's T-Mobile Field. They're going to be playing at in Seattle, so it's the whole thing's confusing.
Oh, that would be.
Hi, Shadow. Somebody
Yes,
knows
don't
it's a
do
live
all
stream.
caps. I will not read it if it's all caps. I also will
Somebody
not read
knows
it
it's
if
a live
it's a ton of emojis. I'm too old to deal with that. So I vote no. Oh, my cup's on the camera.
come on
Sorry.
over.
In the end, the Kraken will use Seahawks neon green. That
Would be so funny.
They'd be so hard on the eyes.
It'd be so funny.
The outdoor games, it seems to be really hard for the players to see, anyways. And using
You could see that they were out of sync the first two periods, and in the third, after the sun had completely gone down and they were just under the lights, it got way better. The hockey got much better, I thought.
Where's the whiteboard? The whiteboard. Well, there's one there, one there, one there, one there. There's 3 right here. There's
I'll
a
count.
pile of them right there. Which one would you like?
2, 3,
They're
4,
everywhere.
5, 6, 7.
We're surrounded by
There's 10.
whiteboards.
There's 10 over here. 10, 11, 12, 13.
Your
14,
mother
15,
in the
16.
Feldmans are
17.
watching you live.
17.
That's my mother.
17 whiteboards.
You guys
in this
going
room.
to
Colorado?
I don't know. It's not
Probably
capitalized, so
Colorado.
I don't know. We don't plan on it. The only planned trip we have is Disneyland. Woo, woo,
We'll get to work on the
Disneyland.
Vegas trip this summer soon.
Thoughts on Friedman saying Kings are active on Chychrun? Chychrun, that's
Chychrun's going to be in demand. It doesn't surprise me the Kings would be in on him. They could use another blue liner, and they have the prospects and draft picks to make it work. They also do not have the same kinds of cap problems as a lot of the other teams in contention. And the Kings, while the record has been good, they haven't been that impressive to me. Adding Chychrun would be huge.
You guys should go to the Winter Classic game in Seattle. We wouldn't be able to see the game.
No, and it's going to be really expensive. And then that's in the middle of the day on January 1st. So be going across the border on New Year's Day and going to Seattle traffic on New Year's Day and then driving home on New Year's Day. So, and then
I don't know. The Winter Classics are really fun to watch on TV. If you go in person, it's got to be about the atmosphere, but you can't see the game.
No.
We have people send us pictures, and while it looks amazing, I don't know how you would see the game.
There was one announcer during the game today that was using binoculars.
You'd have to. I was just about to say you would have to use binoculars.
Yeah.
And even then, and I can't use binoculars very well because
your eyes suck.
They do. I have
Your
trouble
eyes
with
are
binoculars.
stupid. Did you know that?
I know. I am aware. Happy New Year to my favorite BC people. What do you
Happy New Year.
attribute the Panthers' woes to more? Having the cap strap roster they have or Paul Maurice?
Their style of play has definitely changed under Maurice. It's more conservative, less free flowing. And there's times where you get a coach and maybe it doesn't mix very well with the team. So that might be part of what's going on. And they don't have the pushback they had last year. Last year, they were a team that you had them down. They were going to push back, especially in the third period. And this year, it's just not happening. It's just not the same team. It's kind of hard to watch.
T-Mobile is on the south side of Seattle, which doesn't help for traveling from BC. Which one is the T-Mobile one?
It's the baseball one, I think.
Is that the Mariners one down by the pier?
I think so.
I hate driving in that area.
Well, at least we know that
parkade. The driving down there is awful. Yeah, they do have a big parkade.
We've been in
but
that parkade.
But it is a pain to get down there.
Yeah.
Actually, no. Strike that. Everything is a pain to get to in Seattle. I hate driving in Seattle. I don't
Seattle's
know if I've
not a
mentioned
very
it
well
before.
planned city
I
when it
hate
comes to
driving
the
in Seattle.
streets. The last time we were
It's
down there, there was a lot of,
awful.
why is this set up this way? Why is this one way going that way? That's taking us away from the city center.
I hate
And then
driving in
that's one way
Seattle.
up there, and that's going that way. How did these roads work?
And there's a sign now.
Yeah. Or a sign right
Exit
after.
right
You
now.
missed,
Oh,
here's what you missed
crap.
at the last light.
Exit on the left side right now.
Yeah, there's no warning.
Which teams have impressed you the most so far this season, and where do you think the Stars will finish this year?
The Stars shouldn't finish lower than second in the division because if Colorado gets
Oh,
hot,
the football stadium. Okay.
I don't know.
That's right there too, though.
Yeah, they're right next door to each other, basically. But the teams that have impressed me the most this year, I mean, Carolina's 17-game winning streak. What's interesting with that is at the start of that point streak, they weren't playing that well, but they've grown into it, and now they are playing really well. Tampa Bay's impressed me in that they've been in the Stanley Cup final 3 years in a row, and they're still playing really well. They've still got a very good record. Since the slow start, Toronto's impressed me too, and of course, Boston. Boston's been just, it's insane how many times now in the third period they just turned on. Right now, Boston's doing what Florida did last year.
Family discussion. What's the age difference between you two? We're almost exactly 8 years apart.
Close.
Yeah, our birthdays are only a little.
I'm
over
a lot
month
older
apart.
than the cats. So
8 years.
I'm old enough to be your grandfather, eh, kitty?
Oh, somebody asked what I got for Christmas. I got this jersey.
Bunch of jewelry.
It's fun. Yeah, Shannon got me.
You wearing any of the things I got you?
No. I was wearing one yesterday. I took it off.
She just doesn't like the stuff I buy her.
Whatever. People know that's not true.
And then I got her all the baking and cooking books.
Kid, he got me bake-off cookbooks, and they are fantastic. I love
whatever she
bread
wants to make,
bake-off.
she can make.
He got me bake-off cookbooks, and they're so fun. And he got me a Mary Berry cookbook.
Because the holidays can be a downer, and I know she enjoys baking, so that all right, she can just bake her way through the holidays.
All the things.
Yeah. She has enough stuff baked that it's going to last us months.
I do have a lot.
And she keeps baking.
So much stuff. Yes.
Every book I buy, she's like, "Oh, look at I can make this. Oh, I could make this. Ooh, that's fun."
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I got all the bake-off cookbooks.
And then there's other ones coming. I ordered extras just in case she didn't like what I bought her for Christmas because I was nervous. So on like Christmas Eve, I ordered other stuff on Amazon. I'm like, I don't know if she's gonna like this stuff.
You know me so well. You don't get me stuff that I don't like.
Well, I was worried about the jersey because it was a Fanatics.
Yes, this is my only Fanatics.
So in the last live stream, she was talking about how much Fanatics suck. And all I'm thinking in my head is
they do.
I've got her one.
Agreed.
I've got her one.
But they don't make Adidas women's, which is sad.
But I figured that would fit you better than
it does fit. Jerseys. It's still really long. It goes almost to my knees. Look at that. It's like that far from my knees. It's silliness.
I'm usually that far from your knees.
Seattle is 3 hours from Seattle. That sounds accurate. I know it's unlikely to happen for a while, but from a historical standpoint, Red Wings versus Blackhawks Stanley Cup final would be my number one matchup. What would you think? I know it's a no.
That any matchup where you'd have original 6 teams against each other would be fantastic. But we're looking at, I would think, at least a decade away for both of them to be in that position. By that time, I'm just going to really be old. I'm not going to care anymore. Be long beyond the point of not caring. But yeah, any original 6 matchup is fun in the playoffs. Just the history and just the amount of times they've played each other in Chicago and Detroit. There was a really good rivalry between them not that long ago when they were in the same division. So they're always fun to watch against one another.
Did you have this year's Winter Classic jerseys?
Nope. Ben doesn't have them yet. I think I'm allowed to start saying Ben's name again. So I get my jerseys through Ben H Sports. He had over 3,000 of the reverse retros coming in. So there was a moratorium on me mentioning him until he got through those. He will be getting the Winter Classics. There's other jerseys too he's going to be getting. So I'll get it. But again, the NHL doesn't release those early enough. They don't release a lot of things early enough. It's always confused me. And it's not a supply chain thing because they had that problem when Vegas came into the league. So they just don't release jerseys early enough, whether that's on the Adidas side or if it's something with the submission side of things when they're doing the development. The jerseys don't release early enough.
Frustrated with the Avalanche.
The Avs will be fine. McKinnon was in his first game back. They're going to get Landeskog back. They're going to get Byram back, and so they'll be okay. Georgiev in the last game didn't look fantastic, but the defense in front of him wasn't either. The Avs will be perfectly fine.
Baked goods are the best. What's my favorite thing to bake? Mine is good rye bread. I do really like making bread.
Yeah.
I do really like making bread, but I don't really eat the bread. And I have certain children that'll eat an entire loaf of bread all by himself in minutes. Yep. So I'm a little bit selective when I make bread. I used to make bread a lot.
That's why when I ask for a cake for my birthday, it's a cherry cake because I know that won't disappear.
That's true because said child doesn't like fruit.
Nope. So make it as fruit filled as possible.
I don't know. I like baking all sorts of stuff,
but not actually like fruit cake because nobody likes fruit cake.
I love fruit cake.
You don't. You just
and I made a fruit cake and I shared it with my mom and I shared it with Shannon's mom because all of us have fantastic tastes in baked goods and it lasts me forever because I only eat the tiniest bit. So, and luckily, fruit cakes last forever.
Because it sucks. Things that last forever are things that we don't eat.
But I did a different recipe this year. I used one from one of the Bake Off books. And it's a lighter fruit cake, and I prefer dark fruit cake.
That's why ice cream melts so fast. Though. It's not that it's warm, and it's not anything to do with melting point of water or anything. It's because we like it, and because it's so good, it melts right away.
My birthday's coming up, and I do love cake. Your birthday is not coming up. It's like 9 months away.
Then it's coming up because she had one, and she's going to have another one. So
I
it's
am
coming
good,
up.
Thank you. I have seen your posts. I'm doing good. Thank you. It's really cold. Right now, I'm really tired. I just got home from skating. I took the kids to the ice rink and I skated for almost 2 hours. And that was really tiring. And
how are your ankles?
Good. I did good. I laced them up good. My ankles are fine. They were tired, but
because anytime I go skating now, my ankles are burning really fast.
I didn't do too bad. I did have to sit down like twice because it's been forever since I went skating. But oh my gosh.
Now it might be better now that I do the treadmill as often as I do.
Probably.
But the calves might make it difficult for me to find skates that.
Luckily, skates don't go up too high, but.
No, but still.
He does have massive calves.
It's so ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. It's kind of funny. Did you skate with hockey or figure skates? I always skate with hockey skates. I don't even think I've ever put on figure skates.
It's completely different.
Ever?
Yeah, so you wouldn't be able to do it with
figure
skates.
I have bad ankles. I had many surgeries on my ankles and my legs.
Hockey skates give you better support.
Right. So I am very careful about how I lace my skates, but I always wear hockey skates just because they seem stronger with that hard shell.
There are hockey players, though, that do take figure skating in the off season because it helps with your speed and it helps with your edge work. So that's why I always laugh when I see people going, "Oh, it's like figure skating these days in the NHL." Well, they do figure skating in the off season, so
they can do fast turns.
They can, it absolutely helps make them faster. So yeah, there's a little bit of truth to that.
Yvonne used to be like 6 foot until she had leg surgery. Yeah, that's it. I used to be 6 foot tall.
That would explain your long torso. Yeah. You look like Dorf.
There's
a long torso and the tiny legs.
I do not have a long torso.
I've aged myself. If you don't know what Dorf is, just look up Dorf on golf.
Wouldn't go.
Sure, there's free videos on YouTube of Dorf on golf. For some reason, I thought it was hilarious back in the day. Tim Conway, anything he did, I thought was hilarious.
If you couldn't pick Ottawa, who do you think will win the Stanley Cup?
No, it's not going to be Ottawa.
That's
Colorado.
Can't pick
Colorado
Ottawa.
is still my pick. I think that Colorado is going to be rounding into form in the second half of the season if they can get healthy. That's why I'm not changing my prediction of who's going to win the Stanley Cup. I'm still going to take Colorado to win as a repeat. I reserve the right to change that when the playoffs get started and I do my bracket. But at this point, I'm still thinking Colorado. I mean, yes, they're not playing great right now. They wouldn't be the first team to repeat while they're not playing great in December.
Where are all the cats? Not in here. There's Shadow.
Shadow's here. Bear's sleeping in there.
She in the cube?
Yeah.
think that
And then
might
I've
be all
got-
that we have.
I've got Cinnabon.
I don't think the girls followed me, and they were following me a little bit ago. Favorite Tay-Tay song? I don't even know what that is.
Yeah.
I don't know who that is. So, if Wild and Jets meet in the playoffs again, who would win the series and how many games? Oh my gosh, that would be amazing. Yes, they should meet in the playoffs. That would be so fun. That would be a great series. That would be really fun.
It could happen.
And that would be really fun. It would depend on the goalies. I would think the Jets would probably win, but it would really depend on the goalies. But that would be a really fun series to watch. I vote yes. What do you think of the Islanders?
The Islanders are going to be in the mix the whole way. One of either the Islanders, the Rangers, Penguins, or Devils is going to miss the playoffs, and it's going to be an absolute shame.
Tay-Tay
But they've
is
been playing well
Taylor
lately.
Swift. Why would you call it something that dumb?
Because
No.
I'm never, ever, 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 ever going to call her that.
Favorite meal growing up that you still enjoy, Yvonne and Shannon? Shepherd's pie.
I used to love just hamburger rice. Just hamburger rice mix.
I've always really liked shepherd's pie. I've always really liked soup. And when I was little, my very favorite meal was barbecued ribs.
I like
and
baked
I still
lasagna.
love barbecued ribs.
Baked lasagna or baked macaroni. My mom used to take
kids
macaroni
love-
and
yeah.
cheese and sauce. And she'd put the cheese over the top, throw it in the oven for a while. It's fantastic.
That's the kids' one of their favorite meals. That's what Malachi asks for his birthday every year. Shepherd's pie. My birthday's coming up. Your birthday's not coming up.
It is. She
And
had
I
one,
don't
she has another one
generally cook
Aye.
shepherd's pie in August.
coming. Hi.
Because no.
How you doing, baby?
You two.
You're
Where
really
is it?
shedding though.
You two are adorable.
Oof.
Do you two have personal hockey team rivalries, and do you watch those games together? Who is more vocal watching?
I'm more vocal watching.
We
But
do
we don't
not
really
have the
have a
same
rivalry,
favorite
though.
teams. No, because we both are. We're not those type of fans that watch a game and get all yelly. We
No,
just
we don't get
enjoy
obnoxious.
watching the game for watching the game.
In fact, if
Um,
anything,
We do kind of. I
I
don't
know.
know. We kind of joke with each other though. And a lot of times we don't watch the games together. We will be watching the same game in a different room because Shannon switches the channel and I don't like watching several games at one time.
I have to watch all of them.
I don't like doing that. So
I
a
set
lot of
myself
times
up on the channel that
I
way I have
could
to watch
be
all of them.
Either upstairs or in the bedroom.
Yeah, it's my own
watching
personal hell. I don't recommend it for anybody else.
So I watch it in a different room, but we'll call out to each other or text each other during the game because we're cool like that. How do you drop the wings 2 spots? Explain.
Florida
Yeah,
passed them. Calgary
Shannon.
passed them. That's it.
Do you ever eat healthy food? All the time. I actually cook very healthy food. I do love baking, and I
Who
bake
doesn't love bacon?
not so healthy food, but I cook very, very healthy. So I use a lot of vegetables. Hoglander will end up back in Sweden.
I think if Hoaglander's not going to get a good shot from the Canucks, somebody will pick him up. I think the fear is that he's young enough that if the Canucks do end up moving him, that it could come back to haunt him. That's
Can you
all it
guys
is.
see the fur floating? Yeah. She's shedding really bad right
Yeah,
now. All of the
is.
rabbits are shedding a lot right
Yeah.
now.
That's why I had to put her down because that's getting ridiculous.
Favorite healthy meals to make. I make most things healthy. Even like the macaroni and cheese when I make that for the kids.
I like
cook
a
in
big
the oven.
slab of cheese.
I put cauliflower and broccoli in there.
No, I like a big slab
So-
of cheese. That's pretty healthy.
I
Big
think
old slab of cheese.
cheese
Just
is
throw
great.
that in the microwave and soften her up and just shove
Oh,
it down your
nope.
gullet. It's really good.
Did you eat tutsia? Yes, I did make tutsia.
Tuyerie. We're not
it's
French.
I did make tutsia.
Hi.
It was really good.
Hi. How you doing?
I do
What a
make
good cat.
tutsia for Christmas every year.
What a good kitty.
Who's your Canadian favorite to challenge for the cup this year? Hope your new year was great. And as always, thank you for your continued comforting presence for those left alone this past holidays.
Right now, I think if the playoffs started right now, the team that I think would have the best chance at winning the Stanley Cup would be Winnipeg. If it's a Canadian team, Toronto would have to get past Tampa and then Boston, and I just don't know that I could see that. But could I see Winnipeg getting out of the Central? Yes. And then could they get past whoever wins the Pacific? Probably. I think Winnipeg's the best chance. It's not the first time I've said that. I've said that in previous seasons too, and it's not because I'm standing next to her either. I genuinely think Winnipeg would have the best chance of the Canadian teams right now.
That would be awesome. I vote yes. Who is the cleanest, Shannon or Yvonne?
Yvonne, it's not close. I could lie, but it's not close. She's like a little she's the cobbler and the elves.
I am not the elves.
You are kind of like the elves.
He means I pick up all of his crap behind him.
So,
he calls it magic floor, magic table, magic counter. No, it's me.
It's magic.
It's not magic.
I've had times where I've just taken something and thrown it on the floor and told her, "Don't worry about it. It's magic. It'll get picked up before the next time I come into the room."
And like I have to tell the kids, and I'm sure all of your moms have said it to you, if you don't pick it up, who's going to do it?
Spider-Man? Is Spider-Man going to do it? I should get Spider-Man to do it. I think I have enough subscribers to call Spider-Man now. Spider-Man will do it. Right, Shadow?
I am a pretty tidy person. Any kind of clutter makes me really anxious. So.
And I'm a cluttered person. I have always had organized chaos. Like when I worked in an office, I had organized chaos at my desk. It looked chaotic, but I knew where everything was. So if something was cleaned up, then I had no idea where anything was until I had my chaos back. And I'm like that in here. I know where everything is, even though it looks chaotic. I have a place for everything. And then I have to keep, if surfaces aren't clean, certain cats will start climbing them, won't they, Shadow? Not him, it's more Maple.
What do you think if the top 10 draft teams had to play for their position in a tournament? They can play on off days of the playoffs. I would like it.
The thing is, I don't know that the players have any motivation whatsoever to play for a draft pick because they don't really care about that side of it. Plus, players are paid for the 82 game schedule. They're not paid for the playoffs. There's like a playoff fund that they get. So they wouldn't be paid for that tournament. I don't know that you can talk the NHLPA into playing extra games where they're not going to get paid for a draft pick. I don't know. There'd have to be some other agreement in that, and I don't think that's going to fly with the NHLPA.
What does Buffalo have to give up for Patrick Kane?
For Kane, it's going to be prospects. It's going to be draft picks, a young player. You might have to sacrifice. I'm not like Jack Quinn would be an example of one. The one thing with Kane, the advanced stats tell us he has really slowed down. He's 34 years of age. I would counter with, I don't think he's as motivated in Chicago as he would be if he was traded. The Rangers are going to be a front runner because he loves playing with Panarin. But I think the Sabres could end up right there too if they stay in the hunt. And Kane, I think, is going to find his game after he gets traded.
Thoughts on rumor of Canucks being interested in Lafreniere?
The Rangers would want way too much for Lafreniere. They're not going to trade him without wanting a first back, prospect back. They'd want a lot. Even though Lafreniere hasn't lit up the league, he's a very good player and he's going to get better. And I can't see the Rangers giving up on him without getting a king's ransom in return.
Is Tomasino not good enough for Nashville? LMAO.
I mean, with prospects, they all develop at a different rate. Some of them end up coming in the first year, second year, third year. I'm not going to write him off. I think that Nashville, it's tough to crack that roster, and I think that's by design. So it doesn't necessarily mean that he's not good enough. It's just they're taking their time with him.
What team do you think interested in Horvat?
I would think most teams would be interested in Horvat. I think that there may be some who want to work out an extension with him before discussing trade. I think it's going to be really interesting with the Canucks because if Horvat goes, you have to get a king's ransom back. If you're Patrick Allvin, you have to get quite a bit, and they would get more if they traded him to a team that had the ability to sign him long term. Colorado will absolutely be in on him. I think Colorado could use that help down the middle. I could see a team like Washington, because with Backstrom coming back, it's one thing, but what status is he going to have? It might be better for the Capitals to go for a guy like Horvat. It's better to have more centers than not enough.
Yvonne, the Sharks, I feel betrayed. LOL, go Kings. I try and wear different jerseys.
You do have a Kings jersey.
I wear Kings fairly often because they're so pretty. And I wear a lot of Wild and Jets. And I really try and make sure that I don't just wear and Vegas. Those are the teams that I wear the most. And I don't usually wear Canucks in live streams because I wear my Canucks stuff so frequently, like not on streams. So I don't usually wear those. I wear my Canucks a lot. Yeah, so I try to switch it up. And I just got this for Christmas. So it's fun. Right? I mean, that's a fun jersey, right? Yes.
I know, the guy who bought you, that's kind of a goober.
He's cute though, so makes up for it.
Well, I guess you have to say that.
Who are the best players on the Kraken? From a hockey noob.
Burakovsky's fantastic. Really exciting forward who can pass and shoot the puck. McCann might be their best goal scorer. Donato's inconsistent, but when he's on, he is really quite good. Bjorkstrand's going to get the goal scoring going. They picked him up from Columbus. It's taking him a while to acclimate to Seattle. We've seen that with a lot of guys on new teams. I think the expectation that a guy's just going to hit the ground running and there's not going to be an adjustment period is ridiculous. And then on the blue line, I love Vince Dunn. Vince Dunn kind of does a little bit of everything. I know he's had some downbeats during this season, but I still really like Vince Dunn quite a bit.
Who's your number one target for the Bruins at the deadline?
Oh, if Horvat's on the market, I'd love to see the Bruins find any way to bring him in. And I say that even though Boston has really good depth down the middle. Just, again, you can never have too much. And if the Bruins could figure out a way to make it work and Horvat ended up being a Bruin, I'd be pretty happy about that. I'd be happy if he ended up in Dallas because in the end, I love seeing guys go from one team I cheer for to another. It's usually a fun experience. Sometimes not so much. When Bruins go to the Vancouver, they tend to just peter out pretty quickly.
Would you consider today's Winter Classic a Penguins home game, considering Fenway Sports Group?
There were a lot of Penguins fans there. I thought the first half of the game was a lot less entertaining than the second half. I think that's why it was Pittsburgh and Boston, is because of the Fenway group. I think that just made sense. And as soon as they announced that it was going to be at Fenway, then that was the expectation, was to be Pittsburgh and Boston. It was a really fun game. So I'd be less worried. I was more concerned about if Boston lost that one in regulation, that would break their home point streak, and it would seem odd to lose your home point streak not in your home arena.
That would be weird.
Yeah.
Vancouver should trade to get Mark and Eric Stahl.
Can't see it. Eric Stahl is starting to pick up his game. It's one of those positives for Florida is that Eric Stahl is starting to play well. I think it would be more likely for Stahl. Maybe he ends up in Carolina at the deadline if Florida's really and truly out of it. Maybe Carolina finds a way to bring him in because it would be a huge homecoming for Eric Stahl.
Is that Owner of New York 2023 and the two jersey numbers you were both wearing?
Happy New Year to you both.
Happy New Year to both. Now, is there any players from the Habs roster that we can see being traded this year, like Allen or Edmondson?
Edmondson's probably going. There's enough rumors about that he's going. Allen, I don't know. I think Allen's quite happy to stay there. Anybody who's a veteran, I think if somebody came in and wanted Gallagher's contract, I think Montreal would be more than willing to listen. And I think for Gallagher, while he's a heart and soul Montreal player, I think if he had a chance to contend for a Stanley Cup, I think he'd accept it. They don't have a ton of really top high-end assets, but they do have some decent ones there if they can make it work.
Do you think Ilya Mikheyev has been worth the contract this year?
Oh, easily. Mikheyev's been fantastic. Ilya Mikheyev has been one of the drivers of the offense. He's exciting. He's fun to watch. Honestly, Alvin, most of the guys he's brought in have done pretty well. People will bring up Riley Stillman, who's had his problems, might be because he's on a new team as well. But honestly, most of his additions have done quite well. I've been impressed.
Oh, nice jersey. Thank you. I got it from a really cute boy for Christmas.
I told you not to talk to him. Didn't I?
Shannon.
Gonna leave me for that guy. Stupid entertainment guy buying our hockey jerseys.
Dork.
Posting
Okay.
these long soliloquies in my room while I'm waiting outside to get back in here. Pausing the video just to say neener.
Who's
neener?
the
Who
cute
does
boy?
that?
The hockey guy, also known as Shannon.
Stupid entertainment guy in a stupid channel.
That's funny. Okay. Wouldn't it be great for the league if the Leafs won the cup? Canada's team and all.
You know, it's funny. I always hear about how, the NHL doesn't want a Canadian team to win. A Canadian team winning the cup would generate a ton of revenue for the NHL. The price of tickets, ridiculously high when you get into the later rounds for hockey games in Canada, would generate so much revenue. And if Toronto won a Stanley Cup, you'd be looking at movies and just you'd hear about it everywhere. And there'd be all these collectors' plates and pucks and collectors' jerseys and pictures. And it just, you could print money for probably 3 or 4 years if the Leafs won a Stanley Cup. So the NHL would be shooting itself in the foot to prevent Toronto from winning a Stanley Cup.
Isn't the Leafs winning the Stanley Cup a sign of the apocalypse?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I would expect that we wouldn't survive a few years after Toronto winning the Stanley Cup. But there are Leaf fans that'd be willing to risk the entire universe to see a Stanley Cup in Toronto.
Which one of the top 6 Metro teams misses the playoffs?
It's a tough call because they're all playing relatively well. Right now, Pittsburgh's the one that's cold. New Jersey's picked it up the last couple of games. Of the 4, the Islanders might be lacking that firepower to stay in the hunt long term. But the Devils, they need to find that consistency, or it could be them. Rangers should make it. With the experience they had last season, they should be able to cobble together enough wins to make it. Pittsburgh does not miss the playoffs, so they should make it as well.
Suggestions for proper technique while washing an Adidas jersey so it holds up over a long period of time.
Inside out.
Wash it inside out. Wash it on cold or not hot and hang it to dry. Never, ever, ever, ever put it in the dryer.
Why do I buy Pepsi?
I wash ours with our other laundry. You don't have to be that picky with it. Just really never, ever put it in the dryer. Ever. And you can put it in a laundry bag if you want. Don't put it in with anything with Velcro on it. That will kill your jersey. But yeah, just Shannon.
What?
Blowing on my neck. Just not on hot, inside out, and don't dry it.
Yep.
That's it.
Those all work.
For the Heritage Classic in October, any predictions or speculations on what the Oilers and the Flames jerseys going to look like?
I would love to see Calgary do a throwback to the Cowboys from the WHA, and then see the Oilers do the same with an Alberta Oilers, which was a very similar jersey to what they wear now. I would love to see a WHA throwback from both of them.
I'd like to see Toronto win a cup at some point too, but I also want to know if they'll do something when they hit 70 years with no cup.
You got to put a patch on the jersey then.
I don't know that that's something that you put up a banner or...
No, patch. You got to have a patch on the jersey.
Losers for 70 years. I don't think that's...
Just have Daryl Sittler on the patch doing one of these.
I don't think that's... No.
And they could start 1967 chants in Toronto. Would you not?
I always wear shirts under my jersey so I don't have to wash them.
I don't wear them long enough.
You don't have to wear... You wouldn't have to not wash them forever. You do have to wash them sometimes. Washing clothing sometimes is a good thing.
My
but
jerseys
we don't have
I
to
wear
wash
just
Shannon's
during
very
videos.
often either because he wears a shirt
wear them
underneath.
during a video and then I take it off.
Yep.
So this one during the live stream is fine. And as soon as the games are on, I'm wearing a t-shirt. I wear t-shirts when I watch the hockey games, unless it's really bloody cold in here, and then I've got some thermal long sleeve shirts that I can wear instead. Because yeah,
Shadow wants cuddles always.
Yes,
It's Dad.
I know what he wants.
Dad. 70s patch has to have Harold Ballard on it. Any thoughts on Wild keeping the current reverse retro in their jersey rotation next season?
That'd be great. I'd be fine with that. I would be fine with them going to North Stars colors. I think that would look fine. Dallas has a different enough color scheme that I don't think anybody's going to get confused. I think that'd be great. I know Yvonne would be all over that. She'd love to see them wearing North Stars colors.
I would not.
You'd be so happy.
I would not.
You'd be excited.
No.
Don't worry. I tell her what she
Lies,
wants.
Shannon wears a crop top of the team he wants to win while watching games. Clayton's
what?
telling people
Do you know what I did?
what you do
you know what
in
I
your
did
own
today
room?
during the game? As soon as Pittsburgh went ahead 1-0, I put on a Pittsburgh hat. And then when they lost 2-1, I was like, yeah, cool. It worked. See, it was a reverse jinx. It worked.
Any advice to Blues fans right now?
Patience. This is an ugly season. And now with the injuries to Tarasenko and O'Reilly, I don't know that it gets better. The good news is O'Reilly was having a really brutal season. I mean, there have been some good games lately, but overall his season has been rough. Him and Tarasenko probably on their way out off the team anyways. The problem is now their trade value has dropped. Just it's going to be patience till things get turned around.
How much would Kuzmenko be worth after this season with the numbers that he has been putting up?
If he keeps putting up those numbers, I would say, I mean, you could try to get him to take a Mikheyev $4.5 million type deal. I can't see him taking it. I think 6 million, you could see it being around 6 million because of the fact that he's around a point per game. And that's even a deal for guys scoring point per game. Plus, he's already in his mid-20s. So what he is what he is. So that's, I think he's going to be pricey. It's going to be hard for the Canucks to afford him.
Shannon has had beer spilled on him at a game before too. It is obnoxious. And then you smell like beer, and that's just gross.
Yeah, I don't like smelling like beer.
No.
I don't like the smell of beer at all.
No, it's gross.
I don't like the taste of beer, the smell of beer.
No.
The feeling of beer, the look of beer.
Okay. Been a fan of your channel since 2019. Live in Hawaii. You're my go-to for news. I'm probably the easiest person to find here as I'm the only one who wears jerseys. LOL.
I've been the only guy wearing jerseys. Back far enough. Back in the early 90s, there wasn't a lot of jersey wearing in general. I used to get funny looks that I'd wear jerseys just in general, but over time that's changed.
Oh, people. Do the Kraken make the playoffs this year?
If a month ago I would have said absolutely. The way they played last night against the Islanders, that's how they have to play. Now they've got a 7-game road trip. That 7-game road trip is going to tell us whether or not they make the playoffs. At the end of that road trip, if they're say 5-2 on this road trip, they should. If they end up going 2-5 on this road trip, that might be it. Because I think Edmonton's going to heat up. I think Calgary's going to get better. I think they've both underachieved to this point. So Seattle needs a good road trip.
You talk about trips to Disneyland and Vegas, but when are you coming to Sweden? I wish that would be awesome.
It's an expensive trip.
That would be.
And now they're putting a tax on North Americans coming over to Europe. They're like on going there at all.
Oh, so that's we need it more expensive.
So, and then it's a long flight.
Mm-hmm. It is. When I went to
flight.
France, it was like 14 hours or something like that.
Lord.
It was a very, very long flight.
And that's
so many people. Yeah.
What?
Right. That's a good idea.
No, you just drive fast enough.
Yes.
And you can.
Yeah,
you can just
and
skip.
with the world turning, yep, that's a good idea.
Well, see, with the amount of climate change and with all of there's all these icebergs. So if you go at the right time of the year, they can work as like little ramps.
Are we going through Russia or?
No, we just drive to Newfoundland, and then from Newfoundland you just get a really good. You go off that cliff, and there's these icebergs, and you can just jump right across the ocean.
Yeah, the van will totally be able to do that.
It's a new van. I'm going to be really disappointed if it doesn't do that.
Do you believe there's a team currently in the running for Bedard that isn't ready for him and could possibly stunt his development?
I don't think that's possible. Bedard has a goal today. He's putting up ridiculous amount of points. I think he's the kind of player that can't get wrecked no matter who ends up drafting him. I think he's going to be a really good player in the National Hockey League. And yeah, you can't ruin him kind of player.
I'm over 1,000 days of beer free. That's awesome.
I've got more than that. I got more than that. And I will say it's I don't drink, and I feel good about not drinking. The last time that the last time I had a drink, I felt like crap. That was in Vegas. Remember, I had one.
Oh, yeah.
I had one in Vegas. I didn't even finish it, and I felt awful the next day. And I was like, great, that's why I don't drink. That's part of it. That's definitely one of them. I just don't handle it well at all, which is good.
Is Bedard going to pull a Lindros?
No. There isn't really a Quebec Nordique situation in the NHL though. I can't see there being a team that a top prospect would say, I'm not going to play for them. So I can't see it.
Kings 4 points behind Vegas. My prediction for Pacific.
The Kings, there's some consistency issues with the Kings from game to game. And for LA, like the points are there, but I still want to see more with LA. I want to see the full 60 minutes. And I don't have a lot of faith in that goaltending either at this stage. So we'll see if that changes. But at this point, I think LA could very well end up a top 3 team. But like I said, both Alberta teams are going to heat up. I think that while we may see them end up with a lower point total than teams that might have made the playoffs out of the East, I think it's going to be a really good dogfight in the Pacific.
Do you agree that Buffalo plays up to better teams and down to weaker ones? Boston, Ottawa, for example. How does a team break that habit?
It is, it's one of those things where, and I'm not going to say anything bad about Don Granato because Granato's a good coach, but with a young team that can happen. It's something as old as time. Where I remember with the Canucks in the early 90s, I would get frustrated about that, where they would have a really good game against the Rangers, who were a powerhouse, and then San Jose, they just couldn't get motivated. And so it was kind of tough to watch. But that's common with young teams. It's something they've got to fight their way through. The problem is that in the East, if you're losing those games against those bottom seeds, it can cost you that playoff spot.
We do have World Juniors on it right there.
Yep.
So he is absolutely watching the game while he talks to people. Canadian team most likely to win the cup to end the Canadian drought.
Mentioned this earlier in the stream. I Winnipeg would be the one that I think right now would be the most likely. If they all play up to their potential, that would change to Toronto being the most likely. But yeah, I think because Toronto's road is tougher going through Tampa and then Boston. I don't know if they could get through both. For Winnipeg, it's not as difficult a road. I could see them getting through their division and then beating whoever comes out of the Pacific. I think Winnipeg's can be interesting. And they've got Hellebuck in net, who's absolutely fantastic.
True. Who's the best top 6 in hockey right now? Love the content.
Boston's up there. New Jersey, when they were really, really flying, were up there. Carolina, lines 1 through 4 are really, really good. And I like Minnesota's top 6 as well, and Dallas. So I'll just stop with that before I name everybody. But yeah, Dallas. The fact that the Rope Hintz line really is kind of their second line if you look at pricing. In ice time, they're the first line. But yeah, I've been impressed with Dallas's scoring so far this year too. Their depth.
Are you making plans to come down to Seattle for a Winter Classic next year?
I can't comment whether or not we would go. I would love to go. I don't know that we'll be able to. It's so far out. It's really hard to commit because it's almost a full year. So I would love to. I just don't know that it's going to happen.
Need to see how feasible that actually is.
Yeah, I want to see like how many games there are, and then it's New Year's Day, so it's
how expensive that would be. Yeah, that could be tricky.
Yep.
Do you think Vancouver has the ability to pull off a 3-way deal for that Lafreniere?
Yep.
And Dak? Apparently, they're high on both players, and with Horvat probably on his way out, could be good chip in a deal.
If the Rangers don't get Kane, I could see them going after Horvat. They can afford Horvat this year, depending on money being moved out. Lafreniere would be fantastic for the Canucks if they could swing that. Kirby Dach. The problem with Dach is he's fit really well with Suzuki and Caulfield, so I can't see Montreal wanting to move him, and that contract looks really reasonable for what he's done for them. It would be expensive for the Canucks to get Dach. And not that it wouldn't be expensive with Lafreniere as well, but Horvat, I think, would be far more likely to end up as a member of the Rangers than a member of the Habs.
Why hasn't Winnipeg ever had an all-star game, draft, or outdoor game?
Because of where it is. Small city.
It's
Small
cold
city,
and it's hard for
minus
people
40.
to get there at that time of year.
It's yeah, it's the logistics, I would think, hold them back. Yeah, that's probably what it is.
Could be, depending on the weather, it could be ridiculously cold, and that could be dangerous.
We saw in Minnesota last year, the Winter Classic.
Really cold.
The Winter Classic last year in Minnesota was almost too cold.
It could be -30
and
that day.
It negatively
and
impacts
that would
the
be
ice.
Yeah, and can you imagine the fans? That could be dangerous.
The ice in Boston today was pretty good. Keith Jones was saying the ice was pretty good through 3 periods today at Fenway. So it's kind of perfect. It was like 9 degrees, which is kind of perfect to have a hockey game. Celsius, 9 degrees Celsius, not Fahrenheit. Much colder in Fahrenheit, 9 degrees.
Is Horvat better than Pettersson? Is a big bad take, as I think.
Horvat is not better than Pettersson. Pettersson's the better all-around player. Horvat's having a career year. So one thing with Horvat is, and I know Canuck fans don't want to see him go, I think he can hit 50 goals this year. I think he's having a great year, but I don't see him as a guy who's getting 50 goals going forward. I think he's a 30, maybe 35 goal scorer. He's just having a great career year. The same as like Kadri had last year for Colorado. So he's and that's where it gets tricky to extend him, because he wants to get paid like he's playing right now, but I don't know that that's the future for him, right? So we'll see, but Pettersson's the better player. Pettersson's absolutely ridiculous.
What's up, hockey guy? What should I order from McDonald's?
Quarter pounder, no onions, is always a good way to start. I find that's better than a Big Mac. Big Macs just get messy. I like a Big Mac, but it's always messy. I always end up like all the sauce is gone and the lettuce is falling over the place. It looks like a crime scene by the time you're done with it. Not nuggets, because if I say nuggets, she's gonna make that face.
I have like rabbit fur on my nose.
So what else would you get from that? I guess, I mean, there's the junior chicken. I've been trying to cheap out on some of the. See, she made the face anyways. Yeah, that's what I would go with. I always get mayo on my burgers too, but she doesn't like that. I might accidentally drop some mayo on her today. So
he did. He really did.
I said might have.
It wasn't a might.
You didn't have to confirm.
He absolutely did drop mayo on me as I was petting a bunny. Ugh.
Better you than the bunny.
Is 6x6 reasonable for Kuzmenko?
The thing is, it's a small sample size. It's half a season. 6 years for a guy who's giving you half a season, I would be concerned with, because there's the possibility that NHL teams figure things out with him and you see his production go down. I think now we've got general managers that are so afraid of losing guys for nothing that they end up signing guys to long-term extensions anyway. So I wouldn't be surprised if he gets that. I'd prefer to see like a 3-year deal for him, because I'm a fan of shorter-term deals. But yeah, it's probably going to end up being 6 years.
Okay, I'm trying to.
Will the NHL do anything when Ovi breaks the record
like they did with
Wayne?
They did with
Wayne. People mad Ovi puts family in danger over Ukraine. Well, see, okay, so the whole thing with the political views with Ovi, and I leave that out on purpose, because at this point in time, we don't know how he feels on all this, and because he's been advised not to say anything because his family could be in danger if he says anything, falling out of windows as people do and such. Yeah, I mean, at this point in time, I have to kind of push that aside and just report on what's going on, report on the goal record, report on all that. I would expect the NHL to make a really big deal about it. I also want to throw in there too, I've seen people saying, well, shouldn't they retire his number league wide? No. And the reason why is because the number 8 is very, very common. It was easy for them to retire the number 99. Nobody was ever going to wear that number again in the National Hockey League. It's like 66 hasn't been retired league-wide, but if somebody wears 66, oh, you're going to hear about it. Josh Hosang wore 66 a couple years back, and there was a lot of people like up in arms about it. So they could retire 66 league-wide. I don't think they can retire 8, but they'll do something for him. They'll have a big ceremony. I think they'll bypass the 3-year waiting period for the Hall of Fame too. I think he'll go straight into the Hall. I think Crosby will go straight into the Hall as well. They will definitely make a big deal out of him breaking a record that I don't think anybody will ever get near.
At -35°C, ice is no longer slippery.
No, and it crack. I think it can crack too. It just gets so cold,
like dry and brittle, kind of.
And I think that was what started happening in Minnesota last year, if I remember correctly.
Awful to skate on. It is awful to skate on.
Yeah. You don't want players.
It gets where it's hard to do turns and stops.
Lake Tahoe, you don't want players being in a situation where they can get hurt. So the outdoor games, you have to have this certain sweet spot. That's why the Edmonton game is being played in late October and not December, because in December could be -20 or -30 in Edmonton.
With wind.
Yeah.
Fair wind. As a fellow Canucks fan, do you think they'd move Besser and try to get more blue line depth?
I think they've been trying to move Besser for a while. I think that the previous regime with Benning was trying to move Besser too. It just didn't happen. Besser's problem is his contract, so he's not producing up to that contract. And I love Brock Besser, but he has not had a very good season. I think it's great that JT Miller's taking all this heat because it's overshadowing all of the other Canucks that aren't playing very well. So everybody just gets mad at him, and all of the other Canucks get a pass, which I'm not necessarily giving them. Yeah, Besser probably gets moved. The deal that everybody has talked about for years is Besser to the Wild because he's Minnesota born, and that he would go there in exchange for Dumba. Maybe that eventually becomes a trade. It's money in, money out as well. But I haven't heard that one in a while. Don't be surprised if that one comes up again.
Do you think Meyer could get moved?
Meyer, yeah.
Could get moved this deadline. I really want him to stay, and he's young enough for a rebuild, but is $10 million qualifying offer?
I think what San Jose needs to do, I think Mike Grier needs to sit down with him. There's the $10 million qualifying offer, but he doesn't have to make $10 million. So he could sit down with them and work out an extension for, say, 8x8 or 8x8.5. I would not be surprised if San Jose did that because they showed with Hertl last year, they don't really have that appetite for that rebuild. So I honestly wouldn't be surprised. I think if Meyer doesn't have an extension in place by the trade deadline, he moves. But if he has a deal before then, he stays there for 7-8 more years, however long they sign him for.
Can you see any current player passing Gretzky's assist or points record?
Nope. That's done. That's never getting passed. Can't see it.
As an Australian who doesn't have access to every game since the new TV deal, you're a godsend, Shannon. Do you think Strome has done enough to earn a new contract with Washington?
Yes. And I think he should, because we don't know how much long Backstrom's going to play. Like, Backstrom's going to come back, but that hip surgery he had, normally careers are very short after that hip surgery. So I do think that Strome has earned himself a contract, and I'd be kind of surprised if he doesn't get it.
What do you think of YouTubers copying your style? And also then Torts regret taking the Philly job?
I don't think Tortorella regrets taking the Philly job. I think he wanted a challenge and he got it. As for YouTubers copying my style, it doesn't bother me. The one thing
it used to when the channel was much smaller. It absolutely bothered Shannon.
Yeah, it doesn't now, because I think if you're going to get a big following for a channel, you have to have something that makes it yours.
You have to be unique.
You have to have something that makes it yours. So the ones that I follow are ones that are very unique in their own. Like, I follow Food Theory, all the theory channels. I follow Pitch Meeting. I watch all the pitch meetings. Who, ironically, both of those are Canadian hosts. So apparently I like the Canadian hosts. I don't even know. And a lot of the other channels I follow are based out of the UK as well. But they're unique. Each channel has its own way of presenting things. And I've always tried to have that unique presentation. I think it makes it harder if your channel starts out and the comparisons are there to another channel.
Absolutely. And we do see it, and people send them to us all the time. And hey, this guy's copying you.
And I just...
We do see it, and
it's flattering. There's a flattering side to it, but there's limited growth they're going to find because there's always going to be that he's doing the same thing as this other YouTuber. So that's something you're dealing with. So when I started out, the YouTubers I was watching at the time are ones that are no longer a big deal. So it was Emma Blackery, it was Nana Lou, I was really into all the what culture stuff. I'm not as into the what culture stuff now as I was, which they went through that big meltdown that started Cultaholic and a bunch of other stuff. And yeah, that was, and then I did hockey videos. So I was not in their sphere. I don't share the same viewers as they do in general. That's why people are surprised when I comment on one of those channels. They're like, wait, you're here? Why
Shannon
are you
doesn't
here?
really watch other hockey YouTubers.
Why are you here
why would
commenting
he?
on Red
Yeah.
Letter Media? And why are you commenting on, because Red Letter Media, I love Red Letter Media. And a lot of the way that I present things and stuff, I mean, there's definitely a Red Letter Media influence to some of it.
Do you think Matthews will re-sign in Toronto? And if so, how much?
I could see Matthews taking the same contract he has now as an extension. I mean, he's getting paid very well. I could see there being a mild increase, but I could see him taking the same amount of money because the cap's going to go up, and it would allow, with that extra cap space, for the Leafs to go out and get more help while keeping that core together. So I can see Matthews deciding to stay. I think there's a lot of people that expect him to leave. I don't expect him to leave unless something breaks between him and Kyle Dubas. There seems to be a close relationship between that core and the GM. And as long as he's the GM there, I don't see any reason why he'd go.
Was watching the game today and was wondering how much longer Crosby will play.
I could see Crosby going another 5 years, 5-6 years. I think he'll play until he doesn't want to. There will always be a place for him in the NHL. He's aging very, very well.
Pacific is so bad. 5 playoff teams right now.
There are some teams that are a bit down. There's also teams. There's the games in hand situation as well. We're gonna see things change, and I mean, you could end up with 5 Pacific teams, but I don't think so.
Sabres' biggest need?
A veteran presence to settle things down when things are going against them. So, like a Foligno type out of Boston kind of thing. Somebody who's able to keep that ship going on the right path. Because it's very exciting to watch Buffalo, but they're very much a momentum-driven team, and they need to be able to turn that around. They need to be able to sell themselves down a little better.
Would you give up Pedersen, that plus, for the first overall?
Yes, because Bedard's that good. No team's giving up first overall. No team's trading Bedard.
Any players you see still playing in their 40s?
Ovi will play into his 40s. Crosby should play into his 40s. I don't know that Patrick Kane does, because Kane's 34 now, and he's already showing that sign of slowing down, and he's in the last year of his contract. So we'll see how long his extension ends up being. There are some defensemen that are going to play into their 40s. Giordano might end up playing into his 40s. I could see that. There will always be defensemen that end up playing into their 40s.
Thanks, Yvonne, for repping my struggling Sharks. But the jerseys are pretty, so...
Yes. And the new Sharks jerseys, I think Ben's getting those in February. I think it's February.
What 2 teams will make the wild card in the East?
Wild card in the East. I'll say New Jersey and the Rangers, but Jersey's got to figure this out quickly.
Do the Rangers pull off a big trade? Is a right wing the answer to all their problems?
I mean, it would help. I think that some of the criticism that has been thrown at Gallant is accurate. I think that Gallant, while I didn't understand his firing in Vegas and I didn't understand his firing in Florida, if something happens this year and he ends up being out with the Rangers, I would probably understand it better than the other 2 times he lost his job. There's definitely something with the Rangers. I think it's just a matter of getting on a hot streak again and finding that momentum. Momentum's huge this year in the NHL.
How much longer do you think Bettman has, and who's next?
I would think Bettman probably another 5 years. At some point in time, he's just going to be too old to do that. But I think Bill Daly's probably the next guy. If Daly doesn't end up being the next guy, I wouldn't be surprised if the NHL looks externally again. I mean, Bettman wasn't an NHL guy when they hired him. I wouldn't be surprised if they hire someone externally.
If you could book your dream outdoor game in the NHL, who versus who and where?
Toronto versus Montreal. And I don't know if it matters where you would hold that. I think that would be an absolutely huge game. I mean, Toronto has a better baseball stadium than does Montreal. But yeah, that's what I would say would be the ultimate matchup. We haven't seen that one yet.
When is Fletcher fired, and what will Philly do at deadline? Same with Blues.
See, if they're going to fire Fletcher, you might want to fire him before the deadline. And I say that because it's frustrating when you've got a GM that you know is going to be on his way out, making moves at the deadline that will impact the team going forward. So if they're not happy with Fletcher and they decide they're going to make a change, do that before the deadline. Don't let him have all this access to make changes. Like what frustrated me the most with when Benning got fired was that they should have got rid of him before that offseason. Then during that offseason, he made the Oliver Ekman-Larsson-Garland deal, and the team got submarined coming out of the start of the season. And by the time they canned him, it was too late to make the playoffs. And if you don't trust your GM and if you're thinking about firing him, don't let him go through the trade deadline. Don't let him decide the future of the franchise before you can him. If you don't trust him, can him before the deadline.
Will you ever replace your handwritten boards with something digital / green screen?
No. I wouldn't feel comfortable. It wouldn't work for me. And people would know right away that it wasn't genuine. And if I ever did a green screen, I would do a green screen of exactly this background. So it wouldn't make any sense. It would just be a green screen of my actual background.
Oh my goodness.
And I'd have it behind the whiteboard. So that way I could say, see, I got a green screen and done.
Does it concern you, Dumlin and
Ruda
are paired together as defensive defensemen on Pens a lot? It seems like the Pens defense are a major concern.
Well, Ruda had a couple of nice chances today. Ruda's had a couple of decent streaks, but they could probably use some more puck moving on the blue line. I think that's partly because of the Petrie injury. And of course, they didn't have Letang today either. When their blue line is healthy, we'll see how it all works out for them. I would think that tandem probably doesn't stay together on the blue line. Once you have everybody healthy, just having everybody healthy has been the problem back there.
Berube or Armstrong, whose job is in more danger?
Probably Armstrong's. I think Craig Berube, I think he's kind of bulletproof for probably at least 2 seasons. I think they could miss the playoffs 2 years in a row before you'd think about making a change. I would be shocked if they changed coaches at any point.
Just wanted to thank you for your work with the channel. You rock. Best hockey channel on the tube.
Well, it depends on which tube.
He's the cutest one on the tube.
This tube has been pretty popular of the tubes. I have the other tube channel, which is a different tube. You have to go down a different route to get to that tube. But I still think it's because the tube that I have is really like exciting and it has a lot of spinning in it before you get spit out at the bottom. Those are the tubes that people seem to like the most. So that's a pretty good tube.
Shannon would have to wear the same green color, so all we see is a floating head. Shannon
I would totally
do that too. That is absolutely.
All you'd see is the logo. All you would see was the logo.
Shannon would do
jersey.
That. He would definitely do that. Yeah.
Yep. That'd be, and a green hat. So it'd look like my head is just a face. All you'd see is a face and a logo.
That sounds very Shannon.
I would totally do a green screen if I could figure out a way to do that in every video for like a week. And then people would be begging me to stop with the green screen.
Yeah, the comment section would
and
be
I'd be
delightful.
writing with green marker on the board. So that would be great.
That would be awful. McDavid for 10A. Who says no? Fix Edmonton cap problem?
Yeah, McDavid's not getting traded. That's not happening. I like Bedard. I don't think he's going to be a replacement for McDavid. I don't have him at the same level as McDavid either.
Shannon sure is cute in a weird son-in-law kind of way. He's my favorite son-in-law. I love Shannon.
Isn't there a default in there somewhere?
You're her favorite son-in-law. Just take the compliment.
See, I can't pause the live stream when I have to sneeze.
Take the compliment.
It's by default. Default.
So for the Gretzky trade in the 80s, the Flyers were finalists before withdrawing. What do you think would have happened if he went to Philly?
It wouldn't have. We wouldn't have seen the dramatic impact on hockey in the States. When Gretzky went to California, it was huge. Now, if we went to Philadelphia, it would have been huge news as well. But yeah, it wouldn't have been as big of a news item. And I don't know how he would have done in Philadelphia either. I don't know that he would have had those amount of points. I think with LA, I think it was just a perfect setup there. Detroit was in the running. So was Vancouver when he was available. It's a shame he never came to Vancouver, but I mean, these things happen. But again, if he gone to Vancouver, we wouldn't have seen that explosion of hockey in the States either.
Because Shannon is a total dork. Agreed. Would any GMs trade for Freddie Anderson or KK?
I don't think Kotkaniemi would
My nose is so
get the
cold.
option or get them a lot right now. If Freddie Anderson was available, I think somebody would step up, but Carolina would have to take some money back in all likelihood. There's enough goaltending issues in the NHL that I think somebody would pick up Freddie Anderson. They would want to have a physical done on him, make sure he's okay first. But I do think there'd be a market for him.
Who offer sheet or save Carter Hart next year?
I don't think we're going to see an offer sheet next season. I think with the flat cap, it's going to make just those offer sheets really impossible. And then with Carter Hart, his numbers are suppressed because he's in Philadelphia, and I think that would ward people off from offering enough money that Philly wouldn't match. That's the thing with the offer sheets; they're pointless if a team's just going to match.
What would you have?
Who?
Oh, who would have been traded for Gretzky to Philly, and could they have won a cup? And Penguins, Flyers, rivals affected by this?
If he'd gone to Philly, it would have been, I mean, obviously a couple of first-round draft picks, money, because Pocklington basically sold him. They wanted a young player. I'm trying to think. So it was like Murray Craven in their lineup at that point. They would have wanted a young player, maybe a young defenseman as well. I mean, the Oilers wanted young and cheap at that point in time. That's where they were going because Pocklington wanted to make sure money went into his other businesses. I know he denies that. I've seen all the interviews and everything, but still, yeah, it would have been a different deal, but it still would have been a couple of firsts and probably about $15 million involved.
There is more than one T-Mobile arena. There is definitely one in Seattle. Yes, there's one in Vegas.
But it's not an arena.
Right, it's a field.
T-Mobile Field.
Yeah. But
it's like you have
Vegas
Rogers.
does not have the only
we
T-Mobile.
have Rogers in Vancouver, and then there's Rogers in Edmonton. So right. I get thrown off sometimes.
I know you don't know which one they're talking about.
Rogers
they just call it Rogers.
And one's Rogers Arena, but they'll just say Rogers in the broadcast. Like, we're at Rogers. And I'm like,
yep, we call it Rogers.
Oh, because like if it's a Vancouver Edmonton game and I hear it's a Rogers, I'm like, I thought it was in Vancouver. Oh, it's in. Oh, never mind. So yeah.
What goal scorer should the Isles go for?
There's going to be a few available. And goal scorer. If Tarasenko's healthy, if they can figure out a way to make that cap work, Tarasenko could be a good pickup for them. I think he's needed a change of scenery for a while out of St. Louis. He's got an expiring contract, so it's a pure rental. I think he could be a good pickup.
Who do you think the top three in the Pacific end up being?
Vegas is going to win the division. Outside of that, I still think that the Alberta teams are going to recover and get things going. LA's in the mix, but I still think the Alberta teams are going to end up finishing 2-3.
No, McDavid. Yes, Pettersson. Who for 10A straight up?
I don't think Bedard is. I don't think there's any chance of Bedard getting that pick. Would not be moved. Let's say Arizona has that pick. Would they take Matthews for him? Probably, but Toronto wouldn't. Toronto wouldn't move Matthews, even though Bedard would solve some of their cap problems. I don't see that because Dubas has been very clear about that core staying together. So I don't think there's a trade there for that draft pick.
How do the live streams affect you and your channel financially, and how do they help your channel?
They help the channel because it's more interactive. It definitely helps to have that interaction. There's been more time lately than there was in November for me to get live streams done. Financially, they're good. Some of the live streams have been very good. I know the last time we met with the YouTube rep, we had a meeting with her, And she even said, you guys are knocking it out of the park with live streams, so we don't need to talk about that, because they're generally some of the bigger videos we do
really help
during the year.
our view numbers.
And they do help subscriber count. The subscriber
true.
count definitely goes up during the live streams.
We have noticed that. Yeah,
So,
we always gain subscribers
it
for
does
live
help.
streams, and they help our view numbers. It's one of the reasons that we really started doing more of them during the height of the pandemic, because our numbers went way, way down with no games all of a sudden. But when we did live streams, it really bumped our views.
I think where it helps is that all of my videos are one take anyways, so I don't work with a script. I think there are YouTubers who use scripts, and they use very pre-produced and all this production values in there, which they're very good at. But then with the improv side of things, they may not be as quick of a thinker. So the live streams, they may not be as geared towards. I think because all of my videos are basically improv anyways, that works. And there were a couple of times this morning there was one video I was doing, and I just kept getting off track, and I had to start over. I was like, where the hell are you going there?
Shannon kind of meanders sometime. I don't know if you guys have noticed this.
I was 5 minutes into the first video I did today.
Probably noticed it on the other channel more.
I had to just stop. I'm like, where the hell am I going with that one? All right, let's start over and just focus. Stop it. So I'm pretty hard on myself, but yeah, with the live streams, it definitely, I think it shows, like, that's why not all YouTubers can do the Twitch streaming, because Twitch is a very different thing. I looked at it at one point. It just didn't make any sense to start up on Twitch.
Who does Montreal trade before the deadline?
Any veteran, I think, will be listened to. Any veteran player, especially if they're on an expiring contract. Edmondson, because he's on a reasonable contract next season, is going to be a very popular target.
What do you and Yvonne think are the ugliest jerseys in all of pro sports? Goodness. Also, thanks for everything you guys do. All of pro sports.
Almost every color rush jersey from the NFL.
Football jerseys are hideous.
NFL and
I don't like football jerseys.
The new Bengals jerseys, I don't know why they're getting rid of the stripes. I don't know why they're making it so they're just bland. Football jerseys have really become really quite bland to me. And then, I mean, ugliness.
They're ugly, and they don't.
There's some baseball ones that are pretty rough too. Some of the throwback jerseys in baseball are not.
Baseball
jerseys
are
either.
Boring too.
But they're basically T-shirts, so it's not the same as, I don't know.
Yvonne's a huge fan of the 80s Padres and Astros jerseys.
I've shown her the Astros jersey. I want that. The Astros 80s jersey, I want that. I want that badly.
Of course he does.
I want a Nolan Ryan or Scott. I want either Ryan or Scott on the back of it, because they were, I want to say, no. Geez, what was the name of the pitcher? There were two. Somebody my age will know, because there was Nolan Ryan, and then there was Scott was the other good pitcher. Not that the Astros were a championship team or anything. And the Padres, I have a brown Padres. I don't have the other bright
really
yellow
ugly.
one.
It's ugly.
But I need it.
How many more games until Stamkos gets goal number 500?
It could be this week. It could be a month. He's a very streaky scorer. The good news is that because he got 498, he should heat up. He should get it over the next, I would say, 10 days. And then I do a video.
It would be great if you could team up with Don Cherry, take over Hockey Night in Canada. Nope.
Don's in Ontario.
That's that. Yeah, that doesn't
and he's
make any
80?
sense for many different reasons.
There's yeah.
Any advice for keeping chain stitch logos from fraying? Do Scotch Guard.
Yes.
As soon as we get chain stitch or felt, either one, put Scotch Guard on them, because the chain stitch, it can look crappy pretty quickly if you don't take care of it properly. But I put Scotch Guard on all of our chain stitch jerseys before Shannon even puts it on. Well, sometimes he'll do a video, but then I take it and then I put Scotch Guard on it. That really helps. How would any of us know you are old, Shannon? He is, and it's gonna be his birthday. That's my mom saying that, just so you know. So, it's almost his birthday. His birthday is 4 days after we get home from Disneyland, and then he's gonna be super old.
Yep.
Who's my favorite cat? I don't rank the cats, but I have 3 kitty shadows who love to follow me everywhere. Maple. Both Maple and Pixel are my babies.
See, I don't have a favorite.
They do no.
Like Bear's the one
They're
that
all different.
Bear's the one that really loves me.
Oh my
and
gosh.
is so sweet to me.
Such a weird
Shadow,
cat.
it follows me everywhere for most of the day, but
But
does
he'll
roam the
smack
house.
you if you don't do what he
slapped
wants.
me this morning. He slapped me this morning out of nowhere, and I'm like, "What the hell?" And he just ran off.
He does.
He just
He will
waltzed
just
me
smack.
and then ran off.
Claws out, just smack you.
I was like, "What the hell's that for?" Azrael has turned into the sweetest little cat.
She is. She's kind of obnoxious
She's
and
so
she meows
funny.
all the time.
She's one of the funniest cats I've ever had.
She was following me this morning and really wanted me to just hold her.
Yeah.
And she just looks at you and just meows.
Yeah.
Meows. And Maple follows me everywhere. And Pixel follows me everywhere. And she demands to be pet. And if I don't pet her, she just like.
Yeah.
And she'll do it until I pet her. And if I stop, she pushes me with her head again.
Yeah.
So you weren't done.
Who do I think's going to finish top 3 in the Central? I'll say Dallas stays there. I think Colorado rallies and ends up in the top 3. And then it's between Winnipeg and Minnesota. I have more faith in Hellebuck than I do in Fleury to keep that top 3 spot. So I'll say those 3.
Thoughts on Philly runs and their future?
The Flyers, their future, they really need some good, solid, top-notch prospects there. They've got some good pieces. They've got some good players, but they need to come out with an actual plan and embrace the rebuild and just start going for it. They need a top-notch talent like a Michkov or a Bedard or a Fantilli, whichever one they end up getting, that kind of thing. Although this is a deep draft class anyways, but they need to really commit to getting prospects and doing the full rebuild.
If we didn't do this video during the World Juniors, then there wouldn't be a live stream. So
right,
you're welcome.
This is being done now because there's no NHL games until 6:00 tonight. So I figured this is a good time. We were going to do it yesterday, but it was hockey all day.
Yes, that's true. We were going to do it yesterday. Wow, you guys look great. 2022 was really good for you, huh? No, actually. I got really sick. So I lost a lot of weight because I was so sick I could barely eat. But thanks. And Shannon, I mean, he always looks this good. You're welcome.
I don't know. I mean, the channel itself didn't do as well in 2022 as 2021, but I think there are a lot of reasons for that. So I'm not going to overanalyze it.
Should runners up get rings in Major League Baseball and football, NFL?
Nope. If you don't win, then why get a ring? Then it's like those participation awards that people talk about.
Who would you rather have on your team? A 50-goal scorer with 0 assists or a player with 200 assists and 0 goals?
200 assists, because it means he's helping out the team. A 50-goal player can be, if he's very into himself and very much into his stats, he can be not to the team's detriment, because a 50-goal scorer is important, but a 200 assist guy would be much, much more important.
Should I send you a card this year? We love it when people send us cards, and we had a subscriber.
Have some cards up here.
Here's some cards from subscribers right there. That's fun. And we had a subscriber for a while when they were traveling. They were sending us postcards, and that was really fun.
I still have the one postcard from.
Yeah, they're really cool.
From Nepal.
Yes. Yeah, so we do like those. It's not like something that we show on the channel, but people do send us cards and postcards, and it's really cool.
Can be, yep. Absolutely. Where did I put my
favorite dog breed? I don't know. Dogs are cute.
Newfoundlander. Newfoundlanders are sweet pups. Not that other ones aren't, but Newfoundlanders are really sweet dogs. They're huge. So if we were going to get a Newfoundlander,
if your comments are being pulled from saying hello, it's not from the moderators, it's something from your account, because I can see all of the deleted comments, and I think the mods can see them when they're deleted too.
Usually,
but
I would think.
Yeah. When are you headed to Disneyland, catching any Kings or Ducks games? We're going during the All-Star break, so there aren't games.
Yeah, there's a handful of games that week, but there's very little.
I meant the Phillies run last year and their future.
Oh, I don't follow enough of baseball to really get into what's going to happen with the Phillies, but it's nice to see a Philadelphia team winning, right? And now the Eagles are, arguably in line for a Super Bowl. So good on the Eagles.
Where do things stand with the new arena in Ottawa?
So the plan is that they're going to get the new arena in LeBreton Flats. However, there's nothing set in stone right yet, and they have negotiations still to do to make that work. But I think it's going to be a condition for the new ownership that they get that building. I think that's going to be one of the conditions.
What are your favorite international/Olympic hockey jerseys, and also favorite non-hockey team uniform?
I love the German World Junior jerseys they wear. I've never been able to find them in the store. It's always just Canada and the US. So it's frustrating. Favorite non, it's tough because a lot of the international sports are just covered in ads. For various sports, they're just covered in ads. I'd love to have a New Zealand All Blacks jersey though, the rugby, because the All Blacks. But yeah, I mean, there's some fun ones in European leagues, but because of all the ads, it's kind of hard to really appreciate the jersey because they're just absolutely coated in ads.
We're not power ranking our animals. That
No.
would not be nice to them. That would make whoever was at the bottom very sad, and we don't do that.
Yeah, no.
No.
Definitely not power ranking the animal.
No.
I don't need Shadow to be all mopey because he was fifth on the power rankings that week.
Any hope for the Jets this season to make a deep playoff run?
Anytime that you have one of the best goalies in the league, which Hellebuck is, there's absolutely a chance of a run. Hellebuck's absolutely fantastic. So as long as they have him, yeah, they have a chance.
If Seattle wins the Cup before Vegas, what would it do to the Vegas fan base?
I don't think it would do much of anything to the Vegas fan base. I mean, they would not be happy, but I don't think it would have an effect going beyond that.
Yes, we do not power rank our children, furry or otherwise. That is correct. Do you like boba tea, the official tea of the greatest bounty hunter in the galaxy? No, I don't usually drink boba tea because it's pre-sugared.
That's true.
And I don't eat sugar, so yeah, I've had it before and it's not bad, but I don't eat sugar, so it's almost always from a syrup.
Snob.
So there you go. Yeah, because I'm a snob. That's it. That's why I don't eat sugar.
Snob.
I like to not feel like crap. So there's that. Where does the 2010 Team Canada hockey jersey rank?
2010 hockey Canada jersey. The Canada jerseys generally look very similar to one another.
They do.
Yeah, I don't know that I have a favorite amongst the Team Canada ones. I don't really think that I do. I've always been confused by the black in some of the jerseys because there's no black on the flag. I prefer the red and white jerseys, but that's me.
What team do you think will go for Klingberg at trade deadline? Ducks can easily keep half the salary, so he can be cheap for other teams.
There will be some teams in on him. He's been playing better lately. It is an expensive price, so they would have to eat some of that salary. Almost any team that's contending could use an offensive blue liner. And honestly, with a defenseman, I'd be more wanting to make the move sooner. Like we've talked about how it takes teams a while to adjust. Get a defenseman in there sooner and get them to learn the system sooner.
Why are there no NHL teams in New Brunswick, PEI, or Nova Scotia?
Population, building size, and just the NHL doesn't have the desire for another team in Canada. I think if they were, I think Hamilton would be a logical spot for them to go. There are a few spots in Canada that could work, but it's just there's not a desire to expand further in Canada.
It needs to be in a town big enough that can support the team, especially in those areas that a large portion of the winter, it's very hard to travel from town to town just because of the weather. And that's kind of hard in the Maritimes.
Can be.
There's not a lot of big cities, big enough for an NHL team. Thoughts on NHL championship ring and tip for starting collections?
For starting it, you don't buy the really expensive stuff right away, and I've avoided the really expensive stuff most of the way through. A lot of the jerseys you see behind me did not cost me anywhere near what people would think I paid for them. Because when Reebok was selling off because Adidas was coming in, I went out and bought all the Reeboks, and I bought the CCMs because there wasn't the demand. Everybody was buying Adidas, so it worked out really well.
Toronto and Buffalo will fight against a team in Hamilton.
They would. I think it'd be more Buffalo than Toronto, but I think it could work. I think a second team in the city of Toronto could work as well. I think Toronto's big enough to support two teams. I don't think it's going to happen, but I think they could support two teams.
Do you see the NHL adding teams from other countries in the near future?
They would love to have
they'd
love to have a division in Europe. It doesn't work. The logistics of it doesn't work. They've wanted a division in Europe for a long time, but making it work from a travel perspective, it's more likely they would try to start up a league of some sort, but then you're getting into issues with the fact there's already hockey leagues there and hockey teams that have rented out buildings, so it just becomes really difficult for them.
Happy New Year from Baltimore. There's literally an awesome rock opera from here on the War of 1812. It's called 1814, the War of 1812 rock opera.
Cool.
All right. San Jose resigned. Meyer resigned. Hurdle and Burns gone. Why?
I do think that they'll try to re-sign Meyer. I think the belief is that there's a good team there, that the core guys are good enough, and it's just a matter of rounding out the rest of the team. Obviously, there's going to be disagreement on that. There was disagreement on the Hurdle contract. There was disagreement on the Carlson contract. I would not be surprised to see a Meyer contract as well.
I do read non-super chats.
I've seen you do that.
I've read a lot of non-super chats, but yep. I do read the super chats and then I do the other ones.
Oh, if you're looking for the Stars Winter Classic, honestly, Winter Classic jerseys disappear fast. I need to replace the Blues Winter Classic that I have, the Reebok version of. I haven't been able to find one on eBay in at least a year. I've been looking for a replacement because Bear tore that one up, and I haven't been able to find a replacement.
Are you drinking Coca-Cola Zero, Shannon? I'm drinking some. Aw, twins!
Yeah, I am. I have a Diet Pepsi here, but I just can't finish it. It's just too gross.
Love all your videos. You do great work. Happy New Year. Go Flames, go.
Thank you.
Thanks for the video of Paul Coffey 3 years ago.
I try. There are certain players that I make sure I get done. The Hall of Famers, it's important if I watch them play. The career videos, I'm trying to keep them going sporadically during the season. They do seem to, pique interest with people.
Most hated NHL player or players of all time.
Matt Cook. Billy Smith, when he played, there were plenty that hated him. Hextall as well, from a goalie's perspective. But yeah, Matt Cook, I think, was, if I'm looking at like universally disliked, he'd be up there. Claude Lemieux was another, and Brian Marchment. There was a period there with Marchment, and of course for Boston fans, Alf Samuelsson. But that I think guys reserved mostly for Boston fans.
What did you guys do for New Year's Eve and New Year's Day?
We watched TV till midnight. We gave each other a kiss at midnight, and then we went to sleep.
We don't do much. With the kids, though, we do fun food. We had artizia, but then we do like meat and cheese and crackers and a veggie tray. And we had our sparkling cider. And then we watched videos of fireworks. We did watch some fireworks out our window. There were some people setting off fireworks. So. Yeah, and we had little balloons and with lights in them. Just fun stuff like that.
You don't need to run off.
Were any players in rich families before being NHL players? Most NHL players are in very well-off families. Yeah. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to afford to be in high-level hockey.
Hockey is ridiculously expensive.
Especially once you get up to those higher levels. It's expensive.
Yep.
So most of the players are in well-off families. It's really hard to afford, especially if you have multiple children. I've always got our kids all used equipment, and it's still really, really pricey.
Yeah.
So.
And they still grow out of it right away.
They do. It's so obnoxious. Okay, got that one. What tea am I drinking? It's a hazelnut one. Yeah, it's like a chocolate hazelnut from David's Tea. It's really good. What could the Sharks get for Erik Karlsson?
Karlsson's really hard to trade because of his contract. Even though he's playing really well right now, he's having the best season he's had in a very long time. That contract is still virtually unmovable because of how much money and because of how much term. Teams just don't have the cap space to make it work.
Oh, people want to know what your board is you're doing there.
Oh, that's for tonight. There's just the 2 games on, so those are the 2 games that are gonna be going on. I like using the gritty magnet anytime I can. So gritty magnets on the board.
I really appreciate your balanced assessment of the Kraken. You have more respect than some of television commentators.
There are times where TV commentators say things and I think, well, that's not going to age well. And that's why I try not to, like, the JT Miller thing. It'd be really easy for me to jump on all the JT Miller hate, but I'm not going to. I may do a video on Miller soon. And just get into that. The thing is, I just did a Canucks video not that long ago, so I don't want to do too many of them too quickly. But yeah, TV commentators, I think sometimes the hot takes are ones that I often kind of don't necessarily agree with. I just don't talk about it in videos.
Yvonne, do you ever wear a Kraken jersey? I've never worn a Kraken jersey, but Shannon got me the reverse retro, so I do now have one. But the thing is,
I got you the white one when they came out.
Yeah, but I haven't worn them because they're Adidas, and so they're very big. I don't like how the Adidas fit. I much prefer the old women's Reeboks, or the Fanatics makes the sweatshirt jerseys, the jersey sweatshirts, and the youth ones. I like those. I don't like how the Adidas fit. They're so big on me. So I have one, but I've never worn it. I don't like the fit of them. I would really like them to make women's jerseys that are made like the regular jerseys.
I don't have a contact at Adidas, so I don't want to.
So yeah, somebody get on that.
I don't have a contact at Adidas.
Women should be able to wear nicely made.
I wish I had a contact at Adidas. That'd be great. I could just email them randomly. Hey, I had a thought today. Could you guys make this jersey? That'd be great.
And I know I'm not the only one that thinks that.
No.
I don't need to have a jersey down to my knees.
You don't, but it's kind of nice.
But it's not. I could put a belt on this thing.
This one's almost to my knees.
I know.
It's a size 50.
I was going to say because you wear larger jerseys.
It's a size 50, this one.
He wears jerseys larger than he needs to because he
feels... I wear 46s most of the time.
Do you see Michkov? Okay, there you go. Falling out of the top 3 of 5 or 3 to 5. I don't know. Because of what's happening in Ukraine or because of his contract?
Nope. Michkov is considered to be a very elite talent. I don't see him dropping. And part of it is, too, last year's draft, we didn't see Russian players dropping, so I don't think it happens this year either. GMs were not shy about drafting Russian players. And we saw, too, it's easy enough to get them out still. So, yeah, I think he's still going top 3.
Love your videos, THG. I wanted to know if you have an address or a P.O. box to send you anything. We do in the description of every video. We have
in the description of this live stream too.
In all of the videos, there's in the description. We have our Canadian address, which is readily accessible to us, and then we do have an American address, but we do not get down there very often at all. So if you send something to the American address, it can be like a month at least until I go down there and get it. So, Vaughn, you could hem them up yourself. You know, I've been tempted, but then you ruin where the stripes are. And like with this jersey, you can't see the bonnet, but there's all the stripes. You'd be messing that up and it would look weird.
True.
It would look weird. I have thought about it before, but
just hem it at the neck.
That's
just pull it up at the neck.
Just that'd be cute.
Just kind of.
Why do I not like football? Because I'm not a big fan of
Oh.
watching a bunch of guys standing around wearing tights, smacking each other's bums.
I understand why you don't like football.
There's so much standing
I get it.
around and remeasuring lines, and boys in tights.
It can get
smacking bums.
There are some really boring football games.
Nope, pass. It's boring. Not as boring as baseball.
Nothing's as boring
but
as baseball.
It's up there. I don't find it entertaining at all. It's a lot of standing around and it takes forever. Thoughts on Byfield on top line with Kopitar and Kempe. Also, should Clark stay up or get sent back to the OHL?
I think I was hearing that he was going to get sent back to the OHL. I think that's where they're leaning with it. But I mean, he's good. The thing is that the Kings have really good depth right now, so he may very well end up back in the OHL. As for Byfield, I think if they give him a chance, I think he'll reward them. His game is better this year than last year, and I think he showed in the AHL he's probably about ready. They're taking their time with him, so hopefully he performs well and gets to keep a top spot.
Thanks for no raid or Hello Fresh trash in videos. You have my respect for that. I am assuming you mean the
Raid Shadow Legends.
Yeah,
no.
Ones where you have sponsors.
They want my partnership.
We get emails, several emails every day of people wanting to sponsor videos.
Yeah, and it's all the regular.
Every once in a while, I will email them back and say no, thank you, so they will stop.
Yeah, and even then, sometimes they don't take that as an answer.
Right. And my wife likes to wear my Kraken jerseys, size 46, but only to curl up with, not to wear anywhere else. Yes. And the problem is also the logos are so huge. So then they're not boob friendly.
The Seattle logo is gigantic.
Yeah.
It is ridiculously big. Of the logos in the NHL, it is a very large logo.
Yeah.
It was one of the things I noticed first when I got it. I was like, well, it is a big logo.
Hey, now let's not speak bad about men in tights smacking bums. The eye candy is nice. And that's what I say frequently. If that's what you're into, go for it. That's not my thing. Nope. They can keep their boy bums to themselves. Pass. Baseball is way more fun in person. No.
She didn't like it in person
either.
Oh
my gosh. It is not. Hard disagree right there.
She didn't like it in person either.
I've been to baseball games in person, and it is excruciatingly boring.
I would take her
because you can't get away.
I would take her to Nat Bailey to watch a Canadiens game if I thought she'd enjoy it. I would not enjoy a Vancouver Canadiens game.
No, I will go roam around outside of the stadium. I'm not a fan. I'm not going to a baseball game.
Yeah,
I've been to several baseball games, and they are all painfully boring.
Did you do any minor league at some
point? I have done minor league, and I've gone to Mariners games. Okay, because that's the closest team here. Boring.
Other than Vancouver Canadiens.
Boring. Oh my gosh.
I wouldn't mind seeing a Vancouver Canadiens game though.
I'll drive you to it. And I'll drop you off, and I'll go to Metrotown or something.
For 4 hours?
Sure. I can find places to go.
See, the problem is I would rather go to the
fabric store. I could go to Fabricana.
Yeah, I'd rather go to Metrotown.
There's a couple fun fabric stores in Vancouver. They have amazing fabric stores in Surrey.
Who's the next NHL jersey provider? Code again? Nike, perhaps? They won't do the Code again. The Code was a disaster. I could see Nike being the next one. I know there's people who don't want Nike because then you're going to have the swish in the top corner where they have the advertising. But I think Nike could end up being the guys because Nike's already making hockey jerseys. I don't think CCM has the money to make it work. I would love to see CCM get the contract or Starter, even though Starter's logos were garbage the first time around, but they'd be better this time. But yeah, I would not be surprised if it's Nike.
Maybe you have a short attention span. I absolutely have a short attention span. True. You got me there.
Yes, that's true.
Did you wear jerseys in your wedding? Well, not when we got married, but we changed into jerseys.
I brought a bunch of jerseys. I made sure everybody could have a jersey.
So everybody at our wedding wore a jersey. So we have pictures of everybody in jerseys.
Yeah.
people thought that was so fun being able
Yep.
to pick out a jersey to wear.
That was the first time we'd packaged up a bunch of jerseys for other people to wear.
Yeah.
And now we do that with
did.
the meetups.
That's right.
Yep.
Fabricland. I'm not a huge fan of Fabricland. They're kind of overpriced, though they have good selection depending on what you're looking for. I like the local fabric stores way more. And we have an awesome fabric store here in Abbotsford, but then there's also some nice ones in Surrey. And then there's Fabricana, which is in Poco, that I really like as well. So, yeah, we've got cool fabric stores here. Yvonne, what about any?
NLL.
Oh, NNL.
National
NLL.
Lacrosse League.
Lacrosse and soccer. I don't mind lacrosse or soccer.
Lacrosse is brutal.
Yeah, I don't mind.
Lacrosse
I don't mind
is a
those. I don't
nasty
mind
sport.
watching those. I also don't mind watching rugby. I just don't like football and baseball.
For people that are mad about the hitting being taken out of hockey, watch lacrosse games. They're brutal. There's some really brutal smacking going on with those sticks they use. That's what? Hi.
Byfield ready
Nope.
in AHL. Phillips and Peltier ready.
Phillips has already been up with the Canucks. Peltier, it looks like he's probably going to stay the year, I would think, in the AHL. Byfield's up with LA. Byfield, he's been up for the last, I want to say, week, and he's looked good. I think that the AHL definitely was good for his development. I'm glad to see that now teams are more willing to use the AHL than maybe they were in the past, and I think that's what it was there for.
We need to unionize. Lars and Lisa. Oh, that's funny. Okay. Does Shannon intend to wear a jersey and hat when he's buried? If so, what one? Well, he's going to be cremated. So
no.
And you know what? I don't think he's going to care what he's wearing.
No, not really.
Don't think it's up to him.
No,
but he'll be cremated, so he doesn't need to wear a jersey to be cremated.
Rather not.
Make a hockey team out of pro wrestlers. What hockey players would make great pro wrestlers? Also, I was a huge Claude Lemieux fan.
Marchand would be a natural. He'd cut some really good promos. Brendan Lemieux, same thing. Jordan Bennington, I think, would make a natural for a heel. Who else? Ovechkin, you have to have a Russian throwback, right? You have to have a Russian wrestler, because what's the point if you don't have at least one Russian in there? Yeah, I'll go with that. That's enough, I think, for now.
You guys are funny. I saw a question a few times. I was going to ask it, and then I totally forgot what it was. We are in Abbotsford, so we are about an hour outside of Vancouver if there was no traffic, which that's never a thing unless it's the middle of the night.
Between here and Langley, it's not. And then in Vancouver itself is just awful.
If it was the middle of the night, we're an hour out of Vancouver.
Yeah.
If it's the night of a hockey game, we're 2 hours out of Vancouver. That's not a morbid question. St. Louis will turn it around and win the cup.
It's not 2019. I don't think they will.
Greetings from hometown of NHL legend Trevor Lewis, Salt Lake City. Love the channel. Mostly here for the cats.
You're not scratching me. Not happening. You're not swatting me or scratching me.
You need to cover the World Juniors. Yes, he'll get on that.
They're in the quarters today, so there's very little left. And then
we don't need more animals. We're good. We're good on animals.
No, we don't
need more cats.
We didn't plan on having as many animals as we do. It just sort of happened.
We definitely did not plan on having this many animals. We planned on 2.
Yeah.
So we have more than we need.
But anyways, we should get going because there's dinner stuff to be concerned with.
I need to make kids
games
food.
Getting started because if she's not up there, they don't do it.
That's true.
Come back over here.
The children do absolutely nothing if I am downstairs. We don't need a dog.
Good boy. We have a dog. We have Shadow. He's a dog. Look at him.
We definitely don't need one that takes out our internet.
No.
We have a petting zoo. They're all cute and fluffy. I do like beef jerky a lot.
Are the Kraken developing
It's
Shane Wright correctly? I would say yes.
Though.
I would say yes. I think Wright will be fine. There's a lot of complaints, but I think he'll be fine. But anyways, we should get going.
Our neighbors do know who we are.
Yep.
They do.
That's nice. Good kitty.
But yeah, our neighbors know who we are.
So, but yeah, anyways, we should get going. Got stuff to do, and I got games to watch and all that.
Oh,
Winter Classic coming to Seattle next season. Hope the jerseys are on point. They should be.
They could be fun.
They could be a lot
with
of fun.
those two teams.
Yeah.
They will probably be much better than the Winter Classic jerseys this year, though that's not hard to do.
Okay.
Those were ugly.
Go up there.
So ugly.
Anyways, so we should get going.
Yep. Okay.
Thanks
All
for
right.
coming out.
Bye-bye.
We'll see you guys again soon enough.